Nothing in this show should be considered legal, medical, financial, or investment advice. Information presented is from internet or other news sources. Always do your own research and due diligence. We're not responsible for and expressly disclaim all liability for damages of any kind arising out of use, reference to, or reliance on any information contained in this broadcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Money and Change right here on the Trim Radio Network. And it's Sunday, and boy, we have some stuff to go over today. A lot of different things have taken place, and this next week is going to be a busy week for me. So we will be doing a show on Wednesday night, which will be My World, and we will have that scheduled. I will be in Cincinnati, Ohio for the next 2 days. So, with that all being said, welcome to Money and Change right here on the Trim Radio Network. And, we always have to do shout outs. Our disclaimer was automatic. We put that in. And I really like that part. But right now, we've got to do some shout outs, just a few. Big shout out, of course, to the Trim Radio Network for carrying the show. I mean, I really appreciate it. We've been doing this for quite a while. And Michael Bejas and Rascal Stevens, and then of course we've got Victoria Smith. It's all part of the gang, and we have a good time, and we have some good shows. Also, a big shout out to the University of Findlay at www.findlay.edu, and a big shout out to Rusty Duck's Custom Pens. So if you have a club or you're part of a sorority or fraternity, business, whatever, and you want custom pens made for your customers or for your really favored people, let's put it that way, and you want to go ahead and have that done, check with Phil at Rusty Duck's Custom Pens and Blanks. He's on Facebook, so you want to check him out. Also, we've got Big Family Homestead. They're out in the middle of Wisconsin. It's planting season, actually growing season by now. And you want to check them out. Brad and Krista, great people. I've met them several times. Good people. Also, Southern Prepper One, Dave Kobler. I've talked to Dave quite a while, and I've known him for almost 16 years. Really nice guy. Also, we've got Patriot Nurse, and Rachel was on today live, and she had some things that she wanted to bring up, and hopefully you check her out. That's Patriot Nurse on YouTube. Prepper Princess, Amber Stork, How to Save Some Money. You want to check her out. Also, the LDS Prepper, and I talk about the GMRS radios. And I'll tell you what, they're great to have. I have several. And I'll tell you what, one license. Well, I'll get it right on the camera. There we go. $35 for 10 years on an FCC license. These radios are great. This is an Ocean 935G Plus, and it has a Nagoya 771G antenna. With that antenna, I can go 35 miles, contact a repeater in Dayton, Ohio, and then from there, I can get out 90 miles. And people in my family can use this radio because that's the way it's made. Family can use it as long as they behave and follow the rules. Wow. They're good radios to have. I may take one with me to Cincinnati. I've got some of their frequencies. I might be able to talk to some people down there if I have time. The big thing is if I have time. So anyhow, that's what we've got. Also check out Colby at the Max. He's bringing out a lot of good material. And he does a couple of videos every week. And so you really want to check him out. Whoa, that's about what we've got for shout outs. What else do we have today? Well, let's get into it because I really want to show you guys our new website, which you have to check out. And here we are. There it is. The Trim Radio Network. And all you have to do is just go to that, trimradio.com, and you can check us out. You could do a lot of different things. I'm going to accept all the cookies because. And you can check out the website, and it's got some really good stuff. A lot of different things. And if you just go ahead and go on down, it tells you a lot about what we do. A lot of different things: StreamYard, YouTube, Rumble. I'll tell you what. Um, After this show is over with, I will take and post our YouTube video on our Money and Change / Financially Prepped page. Okay. And you can actually keep in touch with the shows. Also, you can look at our stories, what's in the news, our leadership. I won't say motley crew. They're good people. They really are. We have a lot of fun. And if you take a look at all of our people, oh, there's Michael Bayhas, there's Rascala Stefan, there's me. Son of a gun, I'm all dressed up. And there's Victoria Smith, our Chief Marketing Officer. So you can take a look at that crew. And I'll tell you what, great people to work with. They are fantastic. And our computer guru is Rascala Stefan. So, I mean, he's really, really good. Wow, what else is going on? Channels. We have our live stream. We have our vault, which means all of our replays. We've got our schedule for our different shows. And for collectibles, if you shop and buy the merch, it helps support the show. And I'll tell you what, we've got all kinds of stuff in there. Just go to the shop page and you can take a look at t-shirts, hoodies, caps, the Money and Change show shirt. It's a short sleeve. The mugs. I mean, we've got a lot of different stuff there. So you want to check it out, okay? You have to. Because it helps support the show. We don't get paid for doing our shows. The money that we get goes strictly into airtime, and airtime is expensive. And so that's what we're doing. And so if you can help support us and keep us going, hey, that's great and fantastic. Hey, this show goes out worldwide like our other shows. I have listeners in Myanmar, which used to be called Burma way back when, and South Africa and India. Oh, where else? Of course, Europe and North America. So, we get around with our shows and we get a lot of feedback. Matter of fact, after this show, I have 4 people that have requested to join our Money and Change / Financially Prep page. So I will be approving them as soon as the show is over with. So you can check us out. Okay, if you need to contact us, click on the Contact Us button. Watch the magic squares dance around. Okay, we're located in Irmo, South Carolina. Actually, I'm not. I'm in Ohio along with Rascala Stefan. And you just go ahead and call us, 803-303-8667. And you want to drop us a line, hey, info@trimradio.com. If you want to do your own show, it's easy to do. Good grief, if I can do it, you can do it. I'll tell you what, if you want to do your own show, click on the email address, info@trimradio.com. I'm going to do that right now and see what happens. Maybe nothing. The blue button isn't here. Well, anyhow, info@trimradio.com. Send us an email. And, of course, give us all the peculiars, specifics as to what you want to do with your show, what kind of genre it is, who's going to be the host, and ask us for any information, and we'll give that to you. And you can join us. You can do your own show. Okay? No problem. So that's the Trim Radio Network. You can have fun with it too. Okay? Wow, what's going else on in the whole world? I gotta get my teeth have to work. Of course, they're all original. but sometimes the mouth just doesn't want to work for some reason. I don't know. I've been doing 2 shows a week, and maybe I ought to do more. I don't know. Anyhow, what we have right here is our Money and Change, and I got to move it. Money and Change Financially Prepped page, and you see all the pictures of the different people that are there, and you can see that we've got 4 requests. I've got to cover those and get those approved. But we also have every week. What I do is anything that I'm going to talk about, I will go ahead and put it at the header, the very top, and it says join me live for Money and Change on trimradio.com at 7 p.m. We'll cover a lot of topics tonight, so check the comments section for all the links. Well, if you do that, scroll on down. Hey, here we are. 10 non-tax policies in Trump's mega bill. We're going to cover a couple of them, but you can go right to the comment section and check them all out. You can also check out the American truckers. I got a story about that. It's kind of interesting. China reports worst producer deflation in 2 years. They got problems. 6 factors that describe China's current state. Confusion. And also Yahoo Finance. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about rising national debt. We'll talk about Ford recalling 850,000 vehicles for fuel pump failures, and much more. So you can check us out. Right after the show, go out to our page and you can get all the information there. And I've got notifications and messages, but I'm not going to cover those right now. Just go to our Money and Change Financially Prep page and you can get on there for free. All you have to do is just say, hey, I want to join. And we'll get you in there. Okay, it's updated during the week, several times a week. There are other videos that will be there, not only the ones that I'm doing tonight, but there'll be other videos from maybe Prepper Princess or who knows, Rachel, you know, Prepper Nurse, a lot of different people. And if I find something that's interesting, even though it could be Colby at the Max, I'll put it up there. Check it out every week. There's going to be something there. What else is going on? Oh, yeah. Well, we've got this, and I've got to talk about this today. This was occurring in Zero Hedge. 10 non-tax policies in Trump's mega bill that will affect Americans. You can go to that whole article. Remember, I've linked it there. But if you take a look at everything, this is done by Jackson Richmond and Joseph Lord and Jacob Bird at Epoch Times. But he talks about air traffic control, what's going on with border and immigration. One things I wanted to talk about: education and Medicaid and rural hospitals, and I think that's going to be our important thing tonight. Well, actually, part of them, and we'll see where we go from there. I have to take a drink every now and then, guys, because I'm still getting over that cough. Remember, I was off 3 weeks. Yeah, it's one of those things, and I'm slowly getting off of it. So I may cough a couple times. Just forgive me for that. But in the big beautiful bill, the BBB, there were things on education, and the bill makes several notable tweaks to the federal education policy. First, it reduces the Pell Grant eligibility for high-income students and students with full ride scholarships. The approximately $7,000 annual grant has long provided a boost to funding Americans' higher education. And the bill also proposes 2 federal student loan repayment plans, including one traditional repayment plan and one income-based repayment plan, as Republicans seek to do away with President Joe Biden's contested Savings on a Valuable Education, the SAVE plan. Additionally, it would tax colleges and university endowments at a variable rate, either 1.4% or 4% or 8% based on the institution's wealth. You see, a lot of colleges and universities have big, big, big endowments. And that money is used to basically run the school, provide scholarships, whatever. But they amass all this money, and maybe there ought to be a little tax on it. And the reason for that is they have it nestled away where nobody can really get a hold of it unless they want to spend it. And some schools, like maybe Harvard or Yale or other prestigious schools, might have hundreds of millions or $1 billion put away in these endowments. Now, a lot of schools, like for example, the University of Findlay, they have endowments, and their endowments aren't that big, but they help to pay for their students' education because they give out a lot of scholarships. And they have really nice facilities at the University of Findlay. So, even Xavier University in Cincinnati has endowments, and they're really growing. I mean, it's a good school, trust me. If I would go back to school and I had to pick two schools to go to, I'd go back to the University of Findlay and I'd go back to Xavier University. Xavier's in Cincinnati, Ohio. It's known for basketball, but it's really known for education. It's really known for business. Their school of business is fantastic. But all these schools have endowments and they use them. But some of the big, big, big mega schools, they have these gigantic endowments. And maybe there needs to be an education tax. Maybe. We'll see. Medicaid and rural hospitals. Boy, I'll tell you what, going to hospitals anymore is an expensive deal. I mean, it is expensive. And what they end up doing is, for example, a friend of mine had to go and his CPAP machine that he uses to sleep at night, constant pressure air supply or whatever. The motor started showing an error code. He needed a new machine. Well, they said, well, you have to take another sleep study. And then you have to see the doctor. All I need is the thing redone. You've got all the data. Oh, you have to do it again. Go figure. Okay. Sometimes I think doctors and medicine have gone way overboard. Some countries you can go in and get treated and they do an excellent job and the cost is not there. But everybody seems like everybody wants a share of the pot. Okay. Well, anyhow, Medicaid and rural hospitals, some of the changes that have drawn the most attention are those made to Medicaid funding and changes that are expected to boot millions of beneficiaries off the entitlement program while potentially impacting rural hospitals. Well, gee whiz, booting millions of beneficiaries? Gee, would that be about the 10 million illegal immigrants that suddenly ended up getting medical care? A lot of countries, you would be restricted on that. And you better have insurance. Well, anyhow, to reduce medical or Medicaid spending, the bill would impose an 80-hour monthly work requirement for able-bodied adults. Remember, that word is able-bodied adults to receive benefits. So if you're not able to work, you're not going to have that 80-hour monthly work requirement. Gee, 80 hours, that's 20 hours a week. Yeah, a lot of things could be done for 20 hours a week. The change would take effect by no later than December of 2026. It's not now, but 2026. It also reduces the provider tax, the rate at which states tax hospitals and doctors to pay for their Medicaid programs. And they charge between 6% to 3.5% in states that expanded Medicaid under the Affordable Care Act. In other words, Obamacare. And 10 states that didn't expand their programs will see no changes. And that change won't go into effect until 2028. Nothing to worry about until 2028. To offset fears that the changes would harm rural hospitals, the bill allocates $50 billion over 5 years to support such facilities. And that's $10 billion a year. Estimates vary significantly as to how many individuals could lose coverage as a result of the Medicaid changes. The Congressional Budget Office forecasts that several million nationwide could lose coverage. I have a feeling that it has to do with the illegals that came into the country. They're not going to get Medicaid. Do they deserve Medicaid? No. Do they deserve Social Security? No. So it's going to be a process. So you want to check into this, and when it's time for your Medicare or Medicaid card to change, check out all the specifics. Now, for me, all I have to do is wait until the end of September, and between October and the middle of November or the beginning of December, I have to choose my plan because I'm on Medicare and I have a certain plan that I have. I love it because I have to pay money up front for my medications, but then I send them in. They are reimbursed back to me within 3 days. So I pay for them outright and then I get my money back, which is a good deal. So, I love the plan that I have. And I'm lucky that I have that plan. A lot of people didn't. But luckily, if you work for the governor or the government, you get very good health plans. You don't get paid that much, but you get good health plans. And that's one thing I like. What else is going on? Oh, American truckers United issues dire warning on unsafe highways amid flood of migrant drivers and crashes. Yeah, this was in Zero Hedge. And Shannon Everett of the trucking advocacy group American Truckers United, ATU, has been one of the most outspoken folks about the Biden-Harris regime role in the surge of migrant drivers with the non-domiciled commercial driver's licenses, or the CDLs. And he warns the influx has transformed U.S. highways into national security threat and a growing public safety crisis, citing multiple fatal crashes this year involving migrants behind the wheel of fully loaded 80,000-pound big rigs. And he said, this is an urgent wake-up call for every American. And Everett wrote on X, alongside a video warning about the hundreds of thousands of migrants operating big rigs with non-domicile CDLs. He urged heightened situational awareness. In other words, keep your eyes and ears open when you're on the road. Now, I had a friend of mine that called me up. He was in Arizona. He said, look, I'm having one of my collectible cars shipped to Florida. And this trucking company is going to be at my house between 10 and 11 o'clock at night to pick up the car. And the car is out there. And he says, I'm in Arizona. could you do me a favor and be there when the truck is there if my neighbor can't be there? And I said, well, yeah, I can help you out. And he said, but you have to give him a check for $2,000. Okay, well, I've known this guy for a long time. I know I'd get my money back. Okay, I don't have any problems there. And a lodge brother would help another lodge brother out. So anyhow, I got a phone call later and said not to worry, his neighbor was going to take care of it. Well, I got a call back and he said, somebody showed up at the house to pick up the car and had a semi trailer, and they got the car up on the trailer. And the guy didn't speak English. He used a translation device on his cell phone, and that's how they communicated. And I said, did he get his check? And he said, yeah, he got his check to take the truck or the vehicle down to Florida. But he didn't speak any English. I said, where was he from? He says, oh, he's from the Ukraine, and he's driving a truck here in the States. And I'm like, how does he get around? Because their language is totally different because they are basically in a form of Cyrillic Russian. And even some of their Cyrillic is a lot different than Russian. And we don't have any signs that look like that. And so they have to translate the maps and everything on the phone to get to where they're going. It causes a problem. There was a thing called Ice Road Truckers. And this was on, I don't know, the Adventure Channel or something on TV. I used to watch it, and it used to be about truckers up in Canada. And they would go on this ice road, and it was an interesting show to watch. But some of those people didn't speak any English at all. Some were Pakistani, some were Indian, some were Ukrainian. It was interesting to see how they communicate. And especially if a cop pulls you over on the road and you can't speak his language and he can't speak yours, that causes a problem, a big problem. So, what do you do? Well, anyhow, be careful when you're on the road. And I know there's a lot of construction on I-75, and I'm going to be on that tomorrow and the next day. And I'll tell you what, I've already been hit by pieces of metal that flew off of a truck, hit the roadway, and then hit my car. So now I have to take it in to get repaired. It was minor enough, but it was upsetting because normally I don't have accidents. So now I have to have 500 for the deductible, and the insurance company will pay the rest. Hopefully I don't have to pay anything beyond that. But be careful on the road. Be careful of your surroundings. Always check your mirrors. Always check your rear camera if you've got one of those. Always be careful on the road. Don't exceed the speed limit. And watch ahead to see if there's anything on the road that you can avoid. Just a heads up. Wow, what else is going on? Oh, China. Oh, they've been having some problems. There was a report in Zero Hedge. China reports worst producer deflation in 2 years amid ongoing trade uncertainty. Yeah, that means there are a lot of people that aren't buying Chinese goods. There are a lot of people that have companies over there that they're moving back to the States. And the Chinese are going, how are we going to survive? Well, if you play fair in the sandbox and you have fair trade policies instead of invoking, let's say a 400% tariff, things might work and you might be able to keep your businesses. And some things that they make in China, they're decent. But the American companies that were lured over there back in the, I believe, 60s and 70s, the Chinese ended up copying everything, and now they're making it themselves. They like to do that. A friend of mine had a company, and they made airplane propellers, and they wanted this company to put up a plant in China, and they looked into it, but they had proprietary items with their propellers, and they decided not to because the Chinese have a way of copying everything. And if you sue them for copy infringement, have fun collecting. You don't get paid back. So their economy has got a problem, and they're not selling as much. And when they're not selling as much, then what do you do with people that work in the factory? You lay them off, and there's no work for them. So then their social system has to cover. It's an interesting thing, and I think the Chinese are learning about how businesses work. What else is going on? Oh, yeah, 6 factors that describe China's current state. And that's Alexander Liao in the Epoch Times. And basically, he's saying 6 phenomena best capture the country's current state: decline, fierce competition, political struggles, the run movement, random acts of violence, and the lying flat movement. And that sums it up right there. Sales decline, fierce competition between companies, and political struggles, and the run movement and random acts of violence. That's what's happening. Now, there were some Chinese cars coming into the United States, but I don't think they're in here now. They were over in Europe in different places, and some people. I watched a video one time of somebody who was in Moscow, and they spoke good English, but they went to look at cars, and they looked at the Russian cars versus the Chinese cars, and the Chinese cars were a lot better than the Russian cars. And they had some really good features on them, but I don't know how well they would hold up, especially in cold Russian winters. So that was one thing, but you can check that article out. Okay, Yahoo Finance, what's going on? Oh, we've got a video.
Use of 529 college savings plans. 529 plans allow anyone, not just parents, to set aside money in an investment account for certain education expenses. Earnings are not subject to federal taxes, and withdrawals are similarly tax-free if the money is spent on a qualified category. Because of the new law, parents can now withdraw up to $20,000 each year to pay for K through 12 costs. That's up from the previous maximum withdrawal rate of $10,000. The money can be spent on tuition, but also things like books, tutoring, standardized testing fees, and education therapies for children with disabilities. The second big policy change to take action on is a tax deduction on tips. Previously, workers have had to pay income tax on all of their tips. Now, many workers will be able to deduct up to $25,000 in tips from their taxable income through 2028. The deduction does phase out at incomes over $150,000, and workers will still have to pay federal taxes on tips beyond that $25,000 cap. Although tipped workers may not feel the effects of this policy until filing season next spring, there is something you can do today. If you're a tipped worker making under $150,000, this new deduction could lower your tax bill, but only if your withholding is adjusted properly. So don't just wait for tax season. Check your pay stub now and talk to a tax pro if you're not sure how much is being withheld. Next up, a new tax deduction on car loan interest. This allows car buyers to write off up to $10,000 a year in interest paid on loans. That's for new cars that are assembled in the U.S. You must make less than $100,000 or $200,000 for a couple. The tax break starts with purchases made this year in 2025 and goes through 2028. You do not have to itemize to take this deduction. This is a big consideration for folks who have already bought a car this year and qualify, or for people considering buying a car in the next few months.
JP Morgan saying the tone.
Oh, yeah. Well, oh, it just jumped. I went to stop it. Well, guess what? Think about that. You know, your servers that you have in restaurants, hey, they can save up to $25,000. It's a good deal. They work for pennies on the dollar anyhow. So some of the big, high, fancy restaurants make a lot of money, but not $100,000. Trust me, I've seen people in restaurants work and work and work. Well, anyhow, what else is going on? Well, we've got something else. If I can get it to move here. Yeah, how rising national debt can affect your finances. On July 4th, President Trump signed his big, beautiful domestic policy bill enacting a new wave of tax cuts estimated to add $3 trillion to $4 trillion to the national debt. While the national debt may be hard to conceptualize, economists say its explosive growth has the potential to have major impacts on the economy. Apart from the tax legislation's predicted impact, the total debt has nearly tripled in the last 20 years. Why did it triple? Because politicians like to spend like drunken sailors. Only drunken sailors know when to stop because they run out of money. Well, not the government. The 2008 financial crisis and the Great Recession, after a period of relative stagnation post-World War II, that was part of the problem. You know, we ought to operate on a balanced budget. Well, you can read the rest of that article that's there because we've got it in the comment section. But you can see tax rates down and debt goes up. There it is, Yahoo Finance. So how could ballooning national debt, can it affect your personal finances? Quite a bit. Take a look at house loans. Take a look at car loans. How about the cost of living? Like, did you notice your groceries are going up in cost? Yeah, it's inflation. Who caused the inflation? The government. Okay, so you want to check that out. There's, oh yes, a 90-second tour of the University of Findlay.
Tour of the University of Findlay. Enrollment is approximately 3,800 students, 2,500 undergraduate and 1,300 graduate students. We have over 80 bachelor's degrees, 11 master's degrees, and 5 doctoral degrees. The Griffith Memorial Arch. Walking through the arch during graduation is one of the oldest college traditions in Northwest Ohio. Old Main, the first building on campus, home to a variety of campus offices, including our president's. Roy Gymnasium, home to our Division II men's and women's basketball, volleyball, wrestling, and men's and women's swimming teams. The Kaler Fitness and Recreation Complex. This building houses the Student Rec Center, the fitness hub of our campus. Campus housing, 8 traditional residence halls, ranging from traditional residence halls to townhouses and apartments. College of Business and Center for Student Life building, home to the College of Business, our campus bookstore, and the Refinery, which offers multiple dining options. Brewer Center for Health Sciences building is home to OT, PT, AT, and PA hands-on laboratory and classrooms. Also home to our cadaver. The Virginia B. Gardner Fine Arts building, home to Findlay's visual and fine arts programs. Also our Mazza Museum, dedicated to the collection of original children's literature artwork. Agner Center for the Performing Arts. Agner is home to the bands, theater, TV studio, and communication classes. For a more in-depth tour of Finland, go to our virtual tour.
Oh, and you thought I wouldn't sneak that in. I found that today. I thought, hey, we'll play that. Okay, enough about the University of Findlay, located in Findlay, Ohio, right off of I-75. Hey, did you know that Ford's recalling 850,000 vehicles for fuel pump failure? Ford has a lot of recalls. Same thing with GM and a few other manufacturers. I think they want to get you in there to say, oh, well, this one works. Hey, you want to buy a new car? I don't know, but anyhow, according to this article, it said Ford is recalling over 850,000 vehicles in the US due to a faulty low pressure fuel pump that could fail and cause the engines to stall. And that increases crash risk. And that came from AP, Associated Press. And the recall includes various recent Ford and Lincoln models, such as the Bronco, Explorer, the F-150, that's a truck, the Aviator, and Navigator, according to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration. Now, AP writes that starting July 14th, Ford will notify affected owners about the issue. Though a fix is still in development, a second notice will be sent once the repair is available, which will be free of charge. So now you got to be careful when you're driving your Ford on the highway. So you want to check into that recall. That's important. Gee, would this be a public service announcement? Could be. Wow. Gas prices. Let's see what we've got going on here. I've got to make sure that volume is turned up too.
Are remaining cool in the hot summer months. Here to break down the numbers, senior markets reporter Inez Perez. So Inez, where are the prices? Where are the prices? What level of the prices that vacationers can expect to find at the pump?
Well, Julie, vacationers are expecting to see prices that they haven't seen since 2021. So the prices right now at the pump are around where they were 4 years ago. You're talking about $3.17 on a national average. That's a little bit more than a month ago, but about 30 cents less than a year ago. And these prices have been trending lower. And if you go by region, then you're seeing even lower prices in some parts of the region, especially if you take a look at the Gulf area. These states are seeing prices even below $3 a gallon. If you go up to the Great Lakes, those are around $3. But of course, you're seeing on the West Coast, the priciest is on the West Coast. You've got high fees, high taxes out in California. But nevertheless, these prices are trending lower, and the experts are saying that you can expect to see the price of gasoline to go down below $3 a gallon by the end of the summer or by the fall. And part of this has to do with the less expensive winter blend that will start kicking in, and also the driving season, which will start winding down. So we're going to see demand for gasoline that's lower.
So let's talk about, of course, the price of crude, which underlies these gasoline prices. How are tensions in the Mideast affecting those oil prices?
Well, we saw the oil prices really volatile in the month of June, but right now we are seeing that those oil prices are trending lower, and the street is expecting that you are going to see lower oil prices by the end of the year. Right now, we are seeing that oil is negative year to date, but nevertheless, it is going to continue going lower, with some analysts expecting Brent to hit around 60 by the end of the year and even lower in 2026. And part of this has to do with the fact that OPEC Plus has been increasing supply. So that's going to put pressure on those oil prices.
So let's say then you're heading out on a road trip this summer. What are some of the ways that people can save on gas?
Yeah, there's quite a few ways. First off is if you have a gas station reward card, you want to be spending that, or you perhaps have one of those credit cards that will give you cash back when you spend on gasoline. You also should have one of those trackers, gas station track apps on your phone. So along the route, you can see which gas stations have the least expensive gasoline. You want to also time your fill-ups, because gasoline tends to increase right before the weekend or right before the holiday. So the actual best days of the week to fill up is on Mondays and on Tuesday at the beginning of the week. And then you also want to keep your tires properly inflated and also drive smoothly, because erratic driving is not good for miles per gallon.
It's not good for a lot of things. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Well, now you saw that one. So keep your tires inflated properly. And you know something around here? What happened with the prices? The country concert located up in Shelby County in the little town of Fort Laramie. It's a big concert, and I don't know how many thousands of people they get there because it's a big one, and a lot of national bands and artists show up there. All I know is that I've driven by that place a couple of times before they had a tunnel put under the highway so people could go from the camping area into the music grounds where the big stage is. It was total chaos. And it took me 15 minutes to get through the area. It was total chaos. Now that it's not as bad. But I'll tell you what, gas prices went from $2.68 last week up to $3.13 because of the concert. The local gas stations want to get as much of that money as they possibly can. And a lot of restaurants. I was at a restaurant this morning, a local restaurant called The Lighthouse. I went there. Great service, good food, great staff. I mean, a lot of people from out of town were in there. And Fort Laramie is about, I'm going to say, 15 to 20 miles away. But here they were eating at that restaurant. And it had been that way for the last 3 days, I guess, from what the staff has told me. So that's why our gas prices are up and the local restaurants are making money, because are there restaurants in the Fort Laramie area? Only a couple. They're nice restaurants, but they're out at the lake. And this campgrounds is not close to the lake. Well, anyhow, gas prices are going up. What else is going up? National debt clock. You know, we keep getting into debt. We keep spending money we don't have, guys. We're at 37 trillion, 99,513 million and climbing. That's $108,208 per citizen. Now for taxpayers, holy cow, it's $323,052. I don't know about you, but I don't have that cash. You probably don't either. That's a lot. And they just keep spending and spending and spending and spending. Well, hopefully things can be changed so we're not spending as much and we're saving some money. Well, anyhow, when you take a look at it, the Doge clock is at $554,782,000,000 in climbing. And so they're saving the taxpayers about $4,939. Well, that's good. Now, if they could just save me more of that $323,052, I would be happy. But you know, when we take a look at all of this, what you have to remember to do is a few things. They're really simple. Pay down your debt. Don't get in over your head in debt. Pay down your debt. Put some money aside. You can pay down your debt and put some money aside. $5 a week, $10 a week, $50 a week, $100 a month. Put it in a special savings account where you get some interest on that money. And if your car breaks down, you have money to fix it. If something happens, you lose your job, you've got something to live on. So you can check into that. So we got pay down your debt, buy some long-term food, put some money aside, and that long-term food, canned goods, freeze-dried, you name it. Also, make sure you have your medications. Make sure you have a good first aid kit. And if your doctor will let you stock up, that's fine. The next thing, make sure you have the right clothing for the season. Make sure you have batteries and ways to charge your GMRS radios and cell phones. Do you have a generator? How about solar panels? Do you have those? What do you have to charge your batteries? Make sure you have a lot of batteries. You'll go through them. Make sure you have water that's purified and you have an ability to purify water and store it. Remember, it's 3 gallons per person per day. It used to be 1. But I guess we're all slobs and we use up more water than we should. But anyhow, 3 gallons per person per day. Some people, including me, have storage barrels with purified water in the barrels. I've got 2 50-gallon barrels. And then I've got bottled water too. And it all goes into the Berkey water filter before I drink it or use it. And somebody wrote me sometime and they said, oh, Berkeys are expensive. Well, considering I've had mine for about 10 years, I've only had to change the filters twice. And they're charcoal carbon filters. And they take out all the bad tasting water. They take out the bad minerals and so forth. It gives you good, pure water. But then I run that through a fluoride filter. It takes the fluoride out of the water. We don't need fluoride in the water. Why they put it in there, I don't know. I think it's to make us dumb. Sometimes I think there are a lot of dumb people out there. I know I take the fluoride out and I started thinking a little bit clearer, just a little bit. But I think it works. So all my water is run through a Berkey filtration system. And it wasn't that expensive 10 years ago. And in the long run, I mean, I can go through basically 5,000 gallons of water very easily with those filters. And they're easy to take care of. So anyhow, guys, make sure you can purify and store water. Make sure you have some of those blue tarps in case your roof gets messed up. Remember, I told you about a friend of mine that had this mansion. I mean, it was a beautiful place. A freak windstorm came through and took off the tiles on the roof. And these were imported from, I believe it was Italy or Germany. They were on the roof. And the insurance company had a problem. They didn't want to replace some things. So luckily, my friend had blue tarps and he put them on this mansion. And I'm going to tell you something. It looks strange to see blue tarps on the mansion. They were there for almost 2 years until he finally settled with the insurance company and had a whole new roof put on the whole place. I don't know how many rooms are in this mansion, but it's big. So you want to have those blue tarps. They're not that expensive. You can get them at Wally World, Walmart. You can get them at Home Depot, Lowe's. They're good to have. I've got, I believe, 3 of them that I've got. So anyhow, guys, make sure you have plenty of flashlights, plenty of batteries, some GMRS radios so you can communicate with your family if they live in different parts of the town or the area. You might even talk into some of your buddies about setting up a GMRS radio net through a local repeater. That's a good thing to do. I have fun talking with mine because I can talk, like I said, 35 miles away, hit a repeater, and go out 90 miles beyond that. I meet all kinds of people, and that's a great deal. Well, anyhow, guys, that's all I've got for this week for Money and Change. Wednesday night, of course, we're going to be doing My World at 8 o'clock. And we'll have some interesting stories. Maybe I'll tell you a little bit about my trip to Cincinnati. Yeah, that's the ticket. I think I'll do that. Well, anyhow, guys, that's all I've got this week for Money and Change. And with that, guess what? We're going to sign off for the week and save your money, prep like crazy, and I'll catch you on My World on Wednesday. See ya.